Hello, my name is Chris Goldthorpe. I run chrischess.com, and I have the team room on leechess.org with the same name, Chris Chess. So, this is a game played online, and it's between approximately a Class A and a Class B player. It might become evident as we go which side is which. And it's also an example of how to go over your games without spending a tremendous amount of time and learn what you can from an individual game. So let this game begin. It's a closed game, and it became a Queen's Gambit. And White sometimes plays this way with an interest to playing the Catalan, which is a little bit less familiar to some players as Black with a fianchettoed bishop. This move is not very good. Wastes a tempo. There's no big reason to keep the bishop off this square. Often when it goes there, it trades for a knight anyway. So White can just keep on developing here. I think this is a move that most players would know at this level, that they can just kind of guess. Makes sense to develop another piece. And Black plays in this very solid but rather passive way. You'd better start getting some pieces out soon. However, with no open files or anything, it's not that big of a deal for Black. Now the c-pawn is directly defended at the expense of this bishop being cut off, but his only place to go was here anyway. This does pin the knight, but it's much less effective than the normal Cambridge Springs defense, because there's nothing along this line of White's for the queen to attack after taking here. So the bishop comes out, White is ready to castle, pretty normal stuff. And this makes a very minor threat. However, this is a good way to guard the knight. And he finally gets the knight out. And now that White castles, there's not going to be any impediment to anything going to e4 at any time. This is not really relevant to the c3 square, and although that attacks the knight for a third time, this is a good move to defend it for the third time. It might look a little counterintuitive to block in this bishop. However, this pawn is now moved toward the center, and you get a file here. Now Black has not committed himself to kingside castling, but with this open file here, I think White can expect to be able to develop a strong attack on the queen side, and expect his opponent to know the same. So White is well equipped to put pressure on the king side. It would seem that that Black should make some effort to prevent this pawn from going forward. And so now he just trades. White trades with the knight because now this knight can go to here, and this is a very nice square for the knight. Now, if Black does happen to go up here before anything happens with the pawns, this check by the bishop will be sure to keep Black from ever castling. So at this point, this is very strong for White already. And Let's see if we can. Okay. So yeah, it's like, according to the computer, it's like a pawn better for white. Now white apparently did expect it to be about that good just because of these weak dark squares here. So the knight dives in here and black castles. So black has two problems with his king side. One, he does not have all three pawns still in front of him, and his knight is gone, and he has no knight or bishop or minor piece to help him here. The only thing he has is that if he moves this pawn, his queen guards across his second rank. So white starts aiming to play f5. Even if it becomes a pawn sacrifice, the idea is for there to be a wall of pawns here, and it matters little whether they're white or black pawns, that prevent pieces from coming over to the king side to save the king. Now white can prevent any bishop capture by playing c4, but chose to get another piece into the attack as soon as possible. So it looks like black kind of wasted his time. And now knight f6 is a genuine threat. Now, whether this move is good or not is not so much the point if black did not think about it, because he should think about it, because it's a check. And of course, if black were to say take here, then white can take back, and this becomes very dangerous. He's ready to take here. If the pawn comes up, we go rook takes, and if pawn, bishop takes, and if pawn takes, then rook takes with check. If the king comes over, then you take with check again. And this king's in pretty bad trouble. Like, for example, let's say he goes here. Yeah, first you take. And now if black doesn't take, which allows his queen to guard g7 and h7, but if he doesn't take, then he can just back up this direction. The king's forced to go here, and then let's see, what would be best? Well, you can bring the rook here, or we can just go backwards with the bishop to this square. The king has to go here. Let's see, let's suppose he takes. Then we go here because we don't want the queen to go in. Now, of course, if he goes here, this double check would be truly devastating, and on the next move it's a checkmate. So the only other possibility would be to go here, and this threatens the queen and threatens a checkmate at the same time. So it's not going to go well for him if he just plays g6. And if he takes, well, if he doesn't take, what else can he try to do? He could try to get his king out of the way of the discovered check, but then we'll just go here, ready to capture this. And if he takes, then you take with check. He must go here. Then you take this with check, and then you take with checkmate. So he really he's got to not take there. He can't take. And these are decent players, so black realized that and moved his king. But then this move comes in. The idea is to put the queen here, threatening mate. Well, he could move this pawn up. So then what's the move? If you go queen here, you're threatening mate. If he puts his rook here, let's see here. Now, also too, remember, you'd be trying to see this during the game. Let's see, what happens if he plays here? The obvious idea is that the bishop prevents queen e4 now. Yeah, just queen g4 would be strong. Forces this pawn to move. And if the pawn moves at all, now we've got this again. He can't allow this. If he goes here, we don't want his rook to be able to go here. So we'll kill this. And if he takes, then you take this pawn. Yeah, because you're threatening to checkmate him, and you're threatening to go here and checkmate him. So if this rook comes over, queen takes g6, king goes to the corner, rook takes, will lead to checkmate. So again, his king side is getting chewed up. Now, you don't really have to see all of this. If you see that you can demolish a couple of the pawns in front of his king, it's usually good enough to say, well, then this should lead to a win. So he goes to this square right away, and then the queen goes here. And the idea is to put the rook here. So this keeps the f-pawn pinned down so that the queen cannot come over. And this threatens mate in 1. And this is like a problem in a book. Forced win, mate in 2. Takes. Only legal move. And checkmate. So, black's king side got weak a little too soon, and when you've got a bishop back here, you really have to try to keep it, or at least have another minor piece or some way to guard these squares. Usually, once you start weakening it, it's pretty much the end. Letting the knight get here was a mistake. Also, a mistake for black was to allow this pawn to get to e5. That gives him this long diagonal to attack black from. So, quick look through the game again. All of this was kind of book. This is like the first move that started to become weak. White's starting to be winning here. And now black is losing tempos, and that might have been the real bad part. because now he has this very strong center here. And in order to win, you have to have better center or better development. Well, white has both. Notice it would take many moves for black to have his rooks connected, at least 3. White's rooks are already connected and he has more space and everything is leaning to this side of the board, and he has an open file on the queen side. And there's the pin. So this move required a lot of calculation because you have to be sure. Here we reiterate the idea that having the f-pawn block keeps the queen from defending over here. And then after this, we have the forced checkmate, which could come from having solved puzzles that are similar to that, because that's a 2-mover. So this should give you an idea of how to go over your games. You need not spend a tremendous amount of time going over a game. You're just looking for the reasons for your most serious mistakes. So again, this is Chris Goldthorpe with ChrisChess.com, and I have the team room Chris Chess on Lichess. Hopefully we'll see you there soon. Please do like the video and subscribe. Thanks. Have a good 2024.